Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Daily Bone Podcast.
It's a Z shit.
That's Z shit. It's Friday. We got a kick-ass show ahead. We're gonna be breaking down. I would say maybe what was a disappointing political debate last night. Easy was calling it the Memecoin Super Bowl. I don't know if it ended up being the Memecoin Super Bowl. I did see a lot of people losing money on Twitter, but we're gonna break that down. Talk about maybe some political meme coins as well. What might be going on in the next few months. We're also going to talk about Solana summer heating up after VanEck's Solana ETF application yesterday. Very interesting stuff. And what are some interesting plays there? And Easy, I'm going to throw to you at the very end, see what kind of opportunities you're looking for on the blockchain front now that Blast has launched and possibly going to be not as much of a farming opportunity going forward. But Kix, how you doing, man? Good to see you.
Doing fantastic, man. Friday, excited to be here. Hope you're doing well.
I'm doing fantastic. Thank you for asking. Easy. So you were telling us before the show that you left your wedding that you were at. You're at a hotel right now for people listening. We're seeing Easy at a hotel. I don't know where this hotel is, but you left it was a rehearsal dinner that you left early to go trade meme coins.
Yeah, somehow an individual believed that I was a good fit to be in the wedding party. So I'm a groomsman for the wedding today. And yesterday was the rehearsal dinner. And I expeditiously got out of there right around to 9 p.m. The issue was my laptop would not connect to the Wi-Fi once I did return back. So I was trying to figure out these meme coins. I was clicking and clanking to try to get it to work. Got online around like 9:40. So I had about 45 minutes to trade memes. Hit an 800% gain on one. Hit a 200% gain on another, lost on 4 or 5, ended up net positive, only about a handful of SOL. I think like 8, 9 SOL. Wasn't anything too crazy. I blame
still a W in a book, though. A win's a win.
I mean, I just blame the mainstream liberal media, personally. The more I look at this, the more I break it down. It was the mainstream leftists that wanted to take my coins. And to be honest, they did. It looked like across Twitter, the mainstream liberal media won last night. They were muting mics. They were not allowing two great, intelligent, quality individuals that both have dementia to properly debate on stage. And us, as the proud Americans, were forced to face the wrath of two grown-ass adults who should be in geriatric homes argue about their golf score for 22 minutes. It was electric. I learned a lot last night. Some of the major key points that I learned were, how the hell do we have these as our only two options? On top of that, I learned that we're fucked as a country. I learned that neither one of them could complete a sentence in a coherent manner. I learned that these are the two candidates that we're putting our horses behind. And oh boy, I could not be any more excited for the next 4 years to watch the absolute dumpster fire unfold, to watch the raccoons run through the streets that were the American privileged economy. I can't wait. I think everything going on right now is exactly as it was intended. And as a God-fearing man, good luck and Godspeed to the U.S. citizens. We're going to need it.
Signal. So as someone that is not in, you're kind of from the outside looking in, we're in the trenches, right? So it's hard for us to get out and like really see, hey, what does the rest of the world think about us? As someone that's not in the United States, what did you think of that debate last night? I'm sure you saw basically all of crypto Twitter turned into politics Twitter last night. It was everyone turned into political expert. I couldn't scroll on Twitter anymore. It was either LeBron James's son getting drafted, or it was Donald Trump and Joe Biden. So I'm curious what you think.
Yeah, it was really funny. It's so weird, like looking in, because it almost seems like reality TV. It doesn't feel like these are two presidential candidates actually debating. It's just like there's moments where Biden is speaking and you're just like, what is this man saying? Is he trying to remember lines, or is he trying to remember how to speak? Because that's sometimes what it felt like. And yeah, it was just like they were 2 seconds away from like debating like who is better at Scrabble. I'm like, what? I have to say, it is weird, so that the strongest, like, the most powerful nation in the world has these two guys as the prime candidates. And I felt like all you need is some curveball candidate to come in, like a YouTuber, a Kim Kardashian. You just need some kind of person who's young, completely different, and just the opposite of what is on offer for that person to win president. That's where we are right now. It's at that turning point where you just need like the biggest YouTuber to be like, you know what? I don't want to box anymore. I want to be president and I'm going to run. And that is how they're going to get the young vote. And that is how you're going to get people not being apathetic anymore. And that's how you get a completely different candidate. So it's a bit like a good old American sitcom from the outside looking in. You muted
I don't know
Easy.
what's going on with Easy. He's unmuted.
I'm running for president next election.
Easy, don't even
There you
say
go.
that because I'm getting spammed with a pumped.fun link of Easy for president. I don't even want to pull it up.
Don't
That's
pull it
in
up.
the
Don't pull it up.
comments.
I don't know who the
Pull it
hell
up.
made that. Don't
You
pull
in
it
a
up.
suit.
Someone that wants
Yeah.
to dump on our audience.
Exactly.
I will be running because I will be 35 shortly after the election next cycle. So I will be running. I will be running. Do I have your vote?
I will be voting for you 100%. 100%.
I'm
I
glad
can't
to
even
signal
vote for
the
you, but I'll vote for
the
you.
non-U.S. citizen. I'm very
Really?
excited. The
I'll
non-U.S.
come in.
citizen is like, I'm voting for you. I'm voting for you. I'm
Yeah,
real
but I'll
excited
come
for that
in
vote.
as I'll come in as the illegal immigrants who are all doing your votes anyway. So I'll come in through that porous border. I'll come in through that porous border, run my way up to New York, and then I'll vote for you, Easy. So that's how I'm going to vote.
Or just mail a vote in.
Yeah.
Oh,
There you go.
They don't check where they came from. They don't give a shit. Like honestly, just throw a stamp on that thing and you're good to go. That's it. That's it.
On a serious note, Kicks, I saw you tweet this out last night. I thought it was, I agree wholeheartedly. It was the long and short of it was basically that they trotted out Biden early on. And we're going to talk about crypto stuff in a second. But they trotted him out basically for the earliest debate ever to show that he's like basically too old. And then they're going to throw in probably like Gavin Newsom then to replace him because that now they can just replace him without having to do an actual vote, right?
Yeah, which I think is kind of a shame. I just like last night because I saw the debate, then I saw the post debate where all these commentators are kind of like acting shocked, and they're like, there's this panic in the Democratic upper ranks that like they need to pull a hot swap. This is an absolute disaster, and I just have a hard time believing that like you would think like people in the high ranks of the Democrat Party would probably be interacting with Biden and be pretty aware of the situation. So it's hard for me to believe that they didn't see a problem 6 or 7 months ago where we could have actually addressed this issue. And then the Democratic Party across America could have voted, the people of America could have voted for who they think would be the best Democratic candidate to run against Trump. And I just think it's a little bit of a shame that if they do make a switch, maybe they don't, but if they do make a switch, it's just going to be like sort of a candidate picked by the party and not by the people. But that is what it is.
Yeah. And did any of you guys, well, I think that's, I mean, ultimately you pointed out what I think everyone else was thinking, Kicks, but yeah. And have any of you guys played this poly market action? I think this is very interesting.
Haven't played the action. Have not played the action. Have been closely watching it. It went up to 28% last night, 42% this morning on Biden dropping out. Yeah, I mean, you can look at obviously the Democratic candidates here. You have Gavin Newsom as the second nom, which is rather interesting. I like that the Republican VP nominees just other man. Just other man. Like 44% just other man, just someone else.
So
these are really interesting too because you can trade like so you could. If it's at 44%, you could have bet Joe Biden drop out. Yes. And you could sell it this morning for a 2x.
Exactly.
It's a shame that we're not allowed to trade this in America. You have to fly to a different country.
When I'm president, poly markets will be the legal tender of the United States.
Some of these are so funny, dude. The Biden falls asleep during debate. There was Biden closes eyes for 3+ seconds during the debate. 80% chance is crazy. Did that hit?
I don't know. Looking down / closed, I guess, is a nuanced thing.
Yeah. So I don't know. I took a look at all of that stuff last night. It was certainly interesting. We'll talk about it a little bit more on the political meme coin side. I think there's some interesting action there in terms of the narrative for this summer. But before we kick off today's show, I'll throw it over to Kix for the weather report in just a second. I want to give a quick shout out to the partner of today's show, Shrapnel. Their STX 3.1 is live right now until 9 p.m. Eastern tonight. There's a million Shrap up for grabs in prizes. Literally all you have to do is just play the game. Play the game, get in there, complete missions, and you win some Shrap. In order to play, all you have to do is go to shrapnel.com. You buy a basic extraction pack for as little as $10. You can get access to all of it. They're also taking over Latin America. They got the Shrap House. They're over in Brazil, in Sao Paulo, doing, I think they're there for GamesCon. Easier Kicks, what's GamesCon? Is that just a gaming conference?
The largest gaming conference in Latin and Central America, Central and South America. It takes place in Brazil every single year. They have a massive stage where they're showcasing new games and more. It's awesome to see Shrapnel having a presence there. I think that it's a huge, huge win for them to continue to showcase where and when people can play the game across the globe and just highlight the gameplay itself. I've been playing. So I've been playing a little bit of Shrap, completing some missions. It's been very enjoyable. It's been very enjoyable. I can't lie. So I'm very excited to see that. I know they're also going to be at ETHCC. They'll be at Tokyo Game Show in September, which, like, if me and Clemente can wheel and deal here, we may be making an appearance. You heard it here first. But yeah, we're gonna be making some swings here. I'm also gonna, hopefully, fingers crossed, get out to PAX West to see them as well. I think it's a no-brainer to continue to see Web3 games integrate themselves into traditional gaming conferences, personally.
Yeah.
So, like, seeing them do this down in Brazil is absolutely awesome. Seeing them try to dominate at PAX West and East is going to be awesome to see. Their presence at GDC was incredible. I can't tell you how many awesome people were at the Shrapnel House. And I love that they just have gaming setups at the crib the whole time. Like,
that was cool.
They're also they're so cool to they also let other games be there and participate. They just want to grow the pie. So, like, Shrapnel's, they're a team player, baby.
They really are.
Player. You know,
they're some of the
coolest
coolest people that I've talked to. Yeah.
The two presidential candidates that we saw on stage last night. I'll tell you that much. Kix, what do you think my handicap is?
You? I think like just out of the gate. When's the last time you played?
Yikes.
I think you'd shoot a 95. I think if you were playing once a week, I think you'd be like an 85 to 88.
27 is a pretty good guess. That's right in line with a 90. That's a 105 actually. So a little less than that. I can break 100.
I thought you played off scratch. Yeah. I actually thought you played off scratch for a moment.
No, God, no. I shoot on 9 low 40s, like 42 to 45 area. So that's like right around 18 to 25. Like, I'm golf, but I can compete with casual players. I'm not up there saying I shoot a 6 and saying I shoot an 8 after someone calls me out on it. I'm just saying.
Dude, you know what? I was pretty impressed with Trump's handicap, but then I was like, the guy owns golf courses. Of course he's like good.
He lives on a golf course in Florida, arguably the nicest one in the state. Like, what the hell do you expect? The guy, if he isn't damn near a scratch golfer, then he should do something else. All right?
All right, let's kick this thing off. Kix, you're on the weather report today. Ready to run this thing?
You got it, Coach.
Is it on the right sheet? The right one this time?
Friday, June 28th?
Yes, sir.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. Today's Friday, June 28th. Let's look at what's going on. Bitcoin, 61,700. Ethereum, 3,450. Solana, looking good at 145. Today's mover of the day is Michi, up 57% to $555 million. Over the past 24 hours, Solana pumped close to 150 before a slight pullback after investment manager Van Eck files the first Sol ETF application, causing green candles across all Solana ecosystem tokens. Many predict the Sol ETF narrative to pick up quickly following the ETH ETF, which is expected to go live as soon as next week. Political meme coins struggled to gain traction during the proclaimed meme Super Bowl. That was the United States presidential election. The biggest loser was Biden, which dumped over 40% following a lackluster performance from the sitting president, Joe Biden, whose odds to drop out of the presidential race spiked overnight on Polymarket. Lastly, Coinbase has announced a major partnership with payment processing platform Stripe to create various on- and off-ramp integrations for Base USDC via Stripe and Coinbase, furthering the crypto adoption narrative. That's it for the weather report. Back to you in the studio.
very, very effective. And still, there we go. We're closing it out. Thanks for the.
We got one more note here. Clemente's internet is cracking out here. We're getting a little choppiness over there. Clemente, put your left hand up. That's his right. I knew we had a problem.
Did my internet dial for someone else? Easy.
It did a little.
Oh shit! All right. Well, look,
we really got to talk about. You put your right hand up when I said put your left hand.
No, Kicks, his camera's flipped.
No, it was my right hand. It was my right hand.
Yeah,
You're right.
I can look at someone and see if they put their right hand up.
Look, guys. Well, that was just unprofessional for me. Look, I apologize, guys. Your Wi-Fi is usually pretty good. It's fantastic. It's the Starlink innovative internet. So usually I'm getting.
So you're using Starlink.
Yeah, come on now.
You fucking died.
Man, I know you said that as your camera like froze too, but I'm proud of using Starlink, man. Like, okay, limited at 10. I knew Blast beat you down, but like I didn't expect you to move off the grid, kiddo. Like,
if I could jump in real quick on the whole Bowden thing, I felt like I may have fundamentally misunderstood what Bowden was. Was that a pro Biden ticker or was that a making fun of Biden ticker?
Yes.
Okay, cool. Thank you. Easy.
Great response. It literally, and I apologize to anyone that bought this thing after we brought it up yesterday. I said this was one of the biggest no-brainers in all of crypto, and it dumped 50%. So is this just dropping out? Is this dumping because of like if Biden leaves or does not run for president?
It's irrelevant. Then it's completely irrelevant because then it'll be like if it's Gavin Newsom, a Gavin Newsom coin will basically speed run in. It's also like this coin's not even doing well. I do want to actually talk about the Memecoins Super Bowl a little bit.
Let's talk about it.
We can. So last night, I think there was 65,000 tickers launched over an hour and a half during the debate. I think that sounds right. 65,000, and there was a few 100x's. I had an 800% gain on Mumble. That one was pretty good. I lost some money on things like sex with a porn star. I thought that one was funny, but a
little bit of a long ticker.
Yeah, ticker was porn star, but that was the full name. So that one was tough. That was a tough one for the kid. Did take an L on that one. What was interesting to see though was I was adamant it was going to happen on Sol, right? Like that was the thesis. Was like Pump Fun was going to be where the home of this happens. Turns out, if you take a look at the ETH debate meme coins, that's where there was winners, and I missed it entirely. Multiple tickers went from the sub 100K to 14, 15 million. That's 1,000x, baby. That's 1,000x.
And where do you find these?
They're on Deck Screener. So things like the debate absolutely ran yesterday. There was a couple others, and I'm a little worried if I open it up. I'm going to open it up anyway. But I'll tell you what, man. Where I am in undisclosed location, kind of has some shoddy Wi-Fi here when I open up too many tabs.
Yeah, it is kind of wild, Easy, with just like, the fact that since, so much activity has moved to layer 2's, Ethereum's gas is so low that like you can get a swap in for like $6-7. I mean, I know that's still absurdly more expensive than, Solana, but like still it gets it into the range where you can get like some of this activity. Like back in the day when you could do an NFT swap for $7, right? That was like, so it could kind of be interesting if we saw a little bit more of like a resurgence in mainnet things going on.
It's going to be base season, blast season, and ETH season here soon. Like that's my thesis right now, and I did get the deck screener up. The big debate is sitting at a 5.1 million market cap, a 453,000% gain over the last 24 hours. So that was the big one last night. Trump Chick-fil-A 47D's nuts is up 8,585%.
I can see why.
Marco Rubio up 4,245%. Doug Burgum.
He's still around?
I don't know how he got
maybe a VP candidate they're trying to play with.
It makes sense.
I think so. I think that's.
And these are on mainnet or are these on base, Easy?
These are mainnet. These are mainnet. Oh, and sorry, the big debate did 5 million volume, and it's at a 16 million market cap. My apologies. So that was the big winner last night.
Why do you think this played out on mainnet as opposed to on a layer 2 or on Solana?
Gas was cheap. Like gas was dirt cheap all last night. Like there wasn't much friction last night. If you look at it, transaction costs were sub $5. So you could get in and out of these coins dirt cheap. And you still have to understand, like on Sol, it's a blessing and a curse for how frequently you can get in and out of positions because it doesn't really let positions run. Like on ETH, you still have to approve the token, then have to swap. So there's like 2 actions you have to take. So many people there don't look for like the base hits. Whereas on Sol, people are more comfortable taking 40 to 50% gains. And the thing with like ETH being something like that too, it kind of is like a barrier to entry, which is bullish in situations like this where like you're looking for these big swings. And I wasn't expecting that. Like that was the thing. There's also more money on ETH still. Like no matter which way you spin it, like at the end of the day, when you look
A lot
at
of
the
total
L2s,
value
like,
locked.
a ton. And it's like you look at something like Blast, which is already a top 10 L2 in 4 months. You know what I mean? That's a big thing where like clearly ETH money is still involved. You have people like Machi deploying $6 million into the Blast token. That doesn't happen on Sol. Sol is still like the majority of Solana people, a lot of people forget this, are still using mobile versus a desktop. So they're not even looking at charts. They're just refreshing a Telegram to see where the ticker is and then dumping it. Versus something on ETH where it's like slower, you understand the pace. That's the thing. Like that's the big
It's like the
thing here
claw
that I look
machine
at.
versus like Dance Dance Revolution.
That's a good comparison. Yeah, that's actually a very good comparison. The claw machine versus Dance Dance Revolution. Honestly, you could go even a little bit slower. Like, you know, it's like Monopoly versus Dance Dance Revolution because
We spin the big die at the
oh yeah.
arcade.
Yeah,
Yeah.
ETH money is different compared to Solana. Do you feel like
It's a crazy comment from Ethan.
so
He
with
just pinned.
I don't even know Jonah. Oh yeah. With Solana and ETH is a little bit slower. It has more money. When gas is low, it opens up for some opportunities. I literally didn't even know what to look for on ETH. On Solana, I was just sitting there on pumped out fun. Terrible tickers.
Awful tickers, dude. Where the hell's the creativity?
ETH, you can't underestimate the creativity on ETH. I mean, these guys have been in the game, right? So this is like they're back in their wheelhouse. They're flexing their muscles. These guys have been doing this for a lot
more people doing crack on ETH, but like high quality.
Dude, we should have known too was the hard part that it was going to go to ETH last night. Because you look at something like MOG, which just made a brand new all-time high. You look at some of these other meme coins on ETH, like they've been seeing volume and have been running. Pepe, some of these other ones. And I'm like, damn, dude, that was a no-brainer in the grand scheme of things. It's a shoulda, woulda, coulda. But like, it was the situation at hand. And you should have at least just taken a peek on ETH, believing that it was going to run.
And had volume.
I mean, I saw bringing up MOG just briefly. This thing is on a freaking tear, man. I don't know if it's the bubble that I'm in, but I see MOG 24/7, and I'm kind of shocked that it's only 500 million. It feels like it should go higher. I don't have any, but I know
It's going to $1 billion.
It's going to $1 billion. It's MOG and Pepe feel like the most interesting plays for me. And I mean, shifting gears a little bit to the ETH ETF narrative, that's going to start shaping up. We had news coming out that supposedly we could see this thing launch as early as the end of next week. Obviously, the 4th of July is coming up, so that might throw a little bit of a wrench in it. If ETH heats up, I don't know. These meme coins certainly do feel like an interesting opportunity, obviously, other than ETH. Kicks, on your portfolio in general, I'm curious how you're thinking about like what percentage is allocated to ETH versus Solana. I know you sold a little bit of your stack a couple of months ago. What's that at right now? How are you playing this?
Yeah, great question. Let me scroll through the chat with my buddy because I actually did. I was asking him for some advice, and I sent him a like a little pie chart. I just had the pie chart. Okay, I own 20% of my portfolio is ETH, 8% is Bitcoin, 8% is Solana.
Wow. So I think you have the most ETH exposure out of all of us. Actually, no, I have a fair amount now because of Blast. But so your biggest position over Bitcoin and Solana is ETH. Why is that?
Mostly because I bought it at $1,200 and it's all in long-term capital gains. So I just feel like there's some switching costs there. Like could I get a higher return? Could I sell the ETH and then go buy Solana and get a higher return on Solana? Yes. But then on that return, I'm going to be paying short-term capital gains unless I like expect the cycle from now to like go through summer of next year. Right. So like, even if ETH can 3x from here, even if Solana can 3x from here or 4x and ETH only 2x's, I still think it's a better move for me just to hold the ETH with it being long-term capital gains and try to time the top on that. So it's just a little bit more of the decision making that I made at the beginning of last year, like versus like what I think can do the highest return gains.
Yeah, well, it makes perfect sense. When you sell something, you're then stuck with the not only is it can this outperform, but it's can it outperform plus me having to pay those
tax
long-term
rate.
capital. Right, exactly.
Yeah,
exactly.
and maybe it can.
I still think as well that like ETH is still being undervalued by the timeline. I think the sentiment is still very bearish on it. And I'm very surprised that the meme coins yesterday played out on Ethereum rather on Solana. And the fact that, someone like Easy, who is 150% plugged into the space, still didn't predict that the biggest meme coins yesterday would happen on Ethereum and not on Solana. I just think that's an indicator that the ecosystem is being very much not like undervalued and underplayed. And I think if you look at the sentiment on Twitter, it's still very bearish. It's still everyone thinking that Ethereum somehow will not perform over this cycle. And I think once we have those inflows coming in, I don't see it just sort of staying around this 3,200, 3,300 area. I think it's still going to surprise everyone and move much faster towards 4K and potentially stay over 4K as we move past this summer sideways season. So I think anyone holding ETH just kind of has to just sit in their hands and just let it play out and do what it's going to do. One piece of news that really surprised me was Vitalik's investment into, I believe it is called ETH Max.
Or ETH Max.
Mega, yeah. ETH Max or MegaETH yesterday.
Yeah.
I was quite surprised to see that piece of news. I need to dig into it more. But it definitely feels like they want to move in a direction that continues to compete with Solana. So yeah, I'm not bearish on ETH. I'm just gonna let it do what it's gonna do and play out for this summer. And then I think we see it over 4K over September, October, November.
Yeah, I think the timeline's just a little bearish because I think even a lot of smart traders I know swapped into Solana towards the end of last year. So you're gonna kind of be bullish on your own bags, right? That's just human nature. But we still got good old DC investor, man. That guy never falters. Always pro ETH.
I mean, he's just as reliable as it gets. And for people that don't know what MegaETH is, I actually saw, I think Bread Guy was listening right now, friend of the show. It is they're claiming to be able to do 100,000 transactions per second. They want to be the EVM, EVM compatible chain to do 100,000 transactions per second. Easy, random question. Do you happen to know how much Solana is able to do?
Up there.
It's up there?
Solana is like working towards getting. Yeah, these guys are basically.
Solana does a bajillion transactions a second.
I don't know if I think fire dance or all that stuff. I don't pay too much attention to this side of it, the technicals. But Mert,
for context, Solana Fire Dancer, their target range is 600,000 to 1 million transactions a second.
Damn, take that, man.
So it's pretty cool that ETH could do 1/6 to 1/10 of it. Good job, guys. Whoa.
Have you guys heard of I'm pretty late to this party, but of the Ton token and the Ton ecosystem? I can't
huge
believe
Ton guy. Huge Ton guy over here. Huge Ton guy. Don't get me fired up on Ton, dude. I
can't believe that didn't get on my radar.
Kicks.
It's like
Kicks.
a Telegram coin, huh?
Shut up. I told you about Ton.
When?
We're literally you, me, Quad, and Wappy were talking about it, and I said it's going to $20 like 2 weeks ago.
Okay, yeah, 2 weeks ago. I'm talking about when it was at $2 in February.
So we missed that, sure. But you also
So you told us Ton is the play at $6.38. It's now at $7.60. Where were you at $2?
I know. I missed the alpha. I was still late to the game, but we're still early to the party. All right, we're late to the rehearsal dinner, but early to the wedding.
Is it like the Telegram coin?
It's completely Telegram. You go into Telegram, you slap /wallet. It gives you a custodial wallet. You then enter your credit card details, and then you can buy it. It's wicked Web 2E. But Kicks, you know those clicker games that banana things?
Hamster Combat and
Yeah.
that stuff.
So that's like a big part of the ton ecosystem. It's like
Gotcha.
those games.
That makes a lot of sense. That's
Have
cool.
you been buying more of it? Easy ton. Have you been scaling in or just keeping?
I buy
the
every single
same
day.
size? Oh my god.
Every single day.
Still think it goes to $20.
It's going to $20.
So okay, this thing is I don't know how I've been missing this. Same with Kicks. Or I think crypto Twitter is just such a bubble sometimes, and there's
It's
just so much
it's just
stuff going on.
consensus. Yeah, you're not gonna get it on. You're not gonna get it on your feed until the move is already happened. You know, you kind of have to do some outbound research for that.
You got to expand your horizon, brother.
Yeah, I mean that's part of why I had so much bag bias going into this Blast TGE. It was the own consensus Twitter algorithm was feeding me bullish things only about Blast. I didn't see any of the other stuff, or people just not caring about it at all. Kicks, actually, on that note, are you still? Do you have your Blast position still?
Yes.
Got it. And you're just sitting pretty on that thing.
Just
Blast to 4 billion.
Why are you holding it, X? Because normally you're like for the exit. I'm
Well, he
interested to know why
bought
you're still
Signal.
holding it.
Yeah, I bought more. I bought a decent chunk of it. Why did I buy it? I don't know. I think that just from a market cap standpoint, circulating market cap standpoint at $384 million, I feel like it's relatively sitting pretty cheap. And I think that they probably have some tricks up their sleeve. I think that they're holding the season 2 announcements back a little bit. I personally think what they're doing right now is like, why turn on the TWAP until you get all the airdrop farmers to sell out, right? And then you can start making moves up. But I mean, it circulating at this percentage with no more overhang, right? Because there's not going to be another airdrop for a year. And there also isn't any investor or team unlocks for a year. The only thing that you have is the gradual unlock of the whales, but that's already factored into the market cap. So it's at $383 million with all of that. So you have a year for this thing to make some moves and get up to like $1 billion or more circulating. I also think that they're, they're making a move with the mobile app and things of that nature. I just think that Pac-Man, you can love him or hate him. But if you look at what he did with Blur, he was very capable of dominating the NFT marketplace. I just think the situation that he was in it with Blur is how much more like innovation can you do on that platform, right? Like he already made trading fees low. He already added a lending protocol on top of it. There's not that much else you can do, right? With an L2, I think there's a massive amount of things that you can do and innovate on. Blast already did a major innovation, maybe one of the biggest innovations for L2 by making native yield baked into the platform for USDC and Ethereum. And I think just with an L2, there's a lot of things that they can do from a mobile app consumer growth standpoint. It looks like they're already trying to set up for that. Yeah, and it just seems overvalued for me. I'm not blindly buying it. I would have never touched this if it came out at $1 billion market cap. And I actually think that they were very smart coming out at the price that they did. I don't think enough people in this space understand how the starting price is set. And the starting price is set by where the liquidity pools are set at, right? So like Blast could have been they could have very easily set this at a $2 billion circulating market cap. But then what do you do by that? You just make it the best exit ever for all of the airdrop farmers. And then you have a down only chart. It's way, way smarter to launch at a much lower spot and be able to work your way up. Solana was at a $20 million market cap when it first came up, right? And that gave it time to build a really strong, loyal community. So yeah, not blindly buying it. I just think from a market cap perspective, it's pretty attractive. If you look over at Arbitrum, which does have more volume and does have a higher total value locked, but its circulating market cap is $2.6 billion. So when you're looking at 400 million and you're looking at basically the best L2, which is Arbitrum, I mean, sure, you can argue Base, but Base doesn't have a token to compare market caps to, right? So you see that at 2.6 billion, you see Blast at just shy of 400 million. I think there's a lot of upside, especially as we go into Q3, Q4. If we have that next boom of the cycle that we're all hoping for, then this could be a nice play potentially.
Kicks, are you concerned, and Signal, I'll let you jump back in here too. Are you concerned at all about the lack of activity that might happen in a post airdrop farming world? Right. I'm going to be very carefully watching a lot of the metrics over the next few days in terms of like transactions per day, like fees paid and all that stuff in a non like airdrop world. For me personally, and I think for everyone else in here that was we were all actively like involved in that ecosystem in a non-airdrop world, or which is like a 12-month plus kind of airdrop season. I think it's going to shake some people out possibly and reduce the attention on Blast. Is that a worry for you at all when you think about this trade?
I mean, it definitely could be a concern. I mean, I also think that, yeah, if you look at like the market caps of some of the things trading on Blast, compared to market caps of things trading on Base in Arbitrum, they're, Arbitrum and Base have shown that they have the ability to have tokens on their networks that have very high market caps. Blast hasn't been able to prove that yet, but also Blast is very much in its infancy, right? It was when did it launch? In May, right?
Earlier. It launched earlier. No, it launched in like that was Blur. I think it launched in February, late February, early March. Blasted.
Did the locking them? It launched in February.
Yeah,
you've been grinding this thing for 4 months. So you have no gray hair.
I've been grinding for like 2 months. I jumped in super late. Like around Blur launch.
Maybe someone in the comments can tell us when it launched, because I don't think it launched.
It was around. No, it was around that time. The bridging was, I believe, November, and then it went live. Blast went live, I believe, in February.
Okay, maybe let's call it end of February.
Yeah, towards the end of February. I think it was 26th.
Okay, so March, April, May, June. So they've been up for 4 months. Versus like Base has been around since August. Arbitrum has been around for a while as well. I think some of these things take time to develop. But yeah, it's not a risk-free trade by any point in time. Like, they're going to have to make moves over the next 6 months. But I mean, I think once again, like, one of the things that a lot of people undervalue, right, is like, for example, I have 6 ETH sitting over on Base right now, right? I have a decent amount of USDC sitting on L2s. They're earning me nothing. One of the nice things inherently just of Blast is I know that whatever money I have parked on Blast, I'm getting yield off of. And I don't even look at yield as me making money. I look at yield as me not getting diluted from the other people making money. So I think that's a very powerful thing. We'll have to see how. I actually like that this next farming cycle is over a year. I really don't like the aggressive farming. I think that was, a lot of people say that was a negative of Blur. And I think it's very smart that they're making this a year-long thing. And yeah, they're going to have to work hard to attract, apps and keep users on the platform. But I think they're set up pretty well. I definitely think that they're much better than a lot of other, and I'm not trying to throw shade at it, anything. It's very hard to launch a chain, but like, people, for example, like talk a lot about like Say, and maybe I'm just in my own bubble, but Say is at $1 billion market cap. I can't name a single NFT or app or anything over there. Maybe it's because I fucking listen to you all day, Clemente, that I know so much about Blast. But here's the thing on Blast. I can name like, Captains and Company. I can name IKB.GG. I can name Play Cambria, right? I can name Fantasy Top, right? I know Wasabi and Thruster and stuff like that. Like, there's brand names on the platform that I've actually heard of. So we'll see, man. I mean, here's the thing. On the downside risk, I think my downside risk on this trade is fairly low. I got in around 22 cents, right about where we're at right now. So if for me to lose 50% of my money, right, it would have to go to like $190 million market cap. I think if it gets down that low, like they almost can't allow it to get down that low, right? Because the farming for the next year is going to be priced based on where the token is at, right? just like what happened for the preseason. So if it's sitting down at 190, right, their whole kind of growth flywheel unwinds. So I personally think, like, if I'm just throwing out a guess, right, is that they're sitting here and they're like, let everybody that wants to dump. Let's get all of that downside pressure out of the token. And then let's start launching like bullish announcements, bullish narratives, get some of our investors to start TWAP buying liquid shares, right? And get this thing up to 600, 800, maybe even a billion circulating over the next couple of months, which then creates that incentive that they're adding to the apps via gold and sitting on the chain via points to be that much more attractive. So like basically if I take a 50% haircut, it either means crypto got absolutely wrecked and I would have taken that haircut anyways, or it means that Pac-Man has failed. I think he's a winner based on Blast and based on Blur. So betting on him to win, and I think for him to win, he's got to get this to 1 billion circulating. So that's my bet.
Yeah, that makes sense to me. What about the counter argument is like on L2s as a whole is the winner take most or winner take all, and that being base just absolutely dominates. I know base doesn't have a chain, but its activity because it doesn't have a chain is
doesn't have a token.
Very impressive. Sorry, a token. Sorry, it's early over here. Within that, and they just announced Coinbase just announced a partnership with Stripe, and it's for USDC on base. The on and off ramps are now just seamless, according to what they were saying. And I see a lot of people super interested in base overall, and basically that being like, hey, if base just dominates, it's going to take all this stuff from Blast because these L2s are kind of, at least right now, kind of hard to interact with one another. What do you think about base versus Blast and Signal? Feel free to jump in if you have anything here.
Like, I think I don't really see it as base versus Blast. I think I mean, Coinbase is a behemoth and they have such an advantage in their corporate structure and their partnerships, as we've just seen with Stripe. And so they will build out the ecosystem in line with their future plans for Coinbase, right? So I don't actually see them, like in my head, I don't see them as competitors. They are competitors, but I don't think they're competitors for the same audience. How I see Blast is going forward is much more of a DeFi ecosystem. If I think about what Pac-Man did with NFTs, he essentially came out the gate, was extremely aggressive, killed OpenSea, and his moat was small, but a very, very strong defense in that he was willing to take fees to zero, take on the debate of you're killing royalties, et cetera, and he was very successful in that. But then he obviously thought, NFTs, if the market dies, Blur dies. At the end of the day, it's just a marketplace. So he moves on to Blast, which is a much bigger vision. People talk about having all organic use. I don't believe that is a good argument in that if you go out with organic use, you might not get the traction that he needed. He needed to come out extremely aggressive out of the gate in order to bring users over. And he did that. And we've just come to the end of that. Now he's moving to like the next phase, which will be this, 1 year long farm. I'm really interested now to see what the statistics look like over this 1 year, because people will never farm Blast in the same aggressive manner as they did for the last 4 months. But what it allows him to do is to build a really big moat. And that moat can be gaming, that moat can be DeFi, that moat can be NFTs. So I see that happening on Blast, but I don't see that happening on Coinbase so much. Sorry, not on Coinbase, sorry. On Base so much that they're trying to attract this sort of like multiple verticals to come and build over there. They're not at least doing that yet. Maybe their strategy will change over time. But the reason why I'm bullish on Blast is just simply because of what Pac-Man did with Blur. And now in hindsight, it sounds so easy, but at the time, taking on OpenSea was like taking on Goliath, and he really was David, and he absolutely threw the stone to the head and just took out OpenSea. What I'm interested in now is, can he do that for Blast with a much larger moat against other L2s? Given his track record, I would say he can. But obviously we'll see how this plays out in the last 12 months. Whether that's organic or whether that is using aggressive vampire style tactics, I don't really care, because I think his goal is so big that you have to have these really bold, aggressive tactics to become number one. So this is why I don't really compare him against Base in these kind of scenarios.
Pac-Man hasn't changed. He's still the Ponzi Lord, and the man knows how to do what he's got to do. Like, I'm still bullish on it. I think he's going to try new things for this second wave, and I think that that's why I'm still bullish on Blast. Like, I have full intentions to still continue to farm it, but just on things I enjoy. Like, I'll keep playing Fantasy Top because it doesn't take a lot of time. Am I going to spend a lot of capital? No shot. But I'm going to do exactly what I do now that we know how the ecosystem plays out. I'm going to just enjoy the stuff I enjoy on chain, spend the 5, 10, 15 minutes at most, click a couple buttons, hopefully get a few grand.
Yeah. And like the whole like Base, like winner take all narrative. First of all, the Stripe integration is awesome, but they're not the first to do it. Stripe has been integrating with a bunch of, there's a company called Holiday, and you can use Holiday. They hook into Stripe, and you can with a credit card bridge into any Avalanche subnet or a bunch of D apps. So like that technology, it's great that they're adopting it, and they're the biggest one to adopt it. But like, I'm just saying that kind of stuff is already existing and is very democratized, right? It's across the board. In terms of like winner take all, sure. Like I mean, L2 could be a winner take all scenario, but I think if you look at blockchains in general, that's certainly not the case, right? We have Bitcoin, Ethereum, Solana, Binance Chain, right? I think that people made an argument that ETH was going to be the winner take all market against Bitcoin, right? Because like Bitcoin's just the coin, and ETH was like they were going to be the winner take all for the smart contract platform. Solana certainly proved that to not be the case. So I would say I think Base is going to be very successful, but I don't think it has to be a winner take all market. I think a lot of people that push for winner take all markets are pushing because they think that the token they bought is the winner take all market. And I don't blame them for that. You should be very bullish on your bags, right? But if you don't own the same bag as them, then you should probably be cautious with that, because obviously history has shown that crypto is not a winner take all market.
Yeah, makes perfect sense. There you have it. Shifting gears a little bit, we had Blast come through. This was a little airdrop farm to most, airdrop to many. We have some upcoming blockchains. I actually wanted to ask Easy about this. We had Blast happen, like I was saying, Easy. What are you looking at next? I've seen people talk about Barachain. I have zero knowledge of like Barachain when it's coming out. And then people have been talking about Monad as well as that being like a potential opportunities. Is there anything else you're watching for, Easy, in these opportunities front that you're starting to look at? Like, what do we need to know about Barachain, Monad, or any of these other like upcoming?
I don't care about Barachain personally. It's another farm, which like I have no interest on. Monad's the most interesting one because it's a parallelized EVM, so big technical jargon, but essentially it's going to be doing what MegaETH can do: fast transactions, near instant throughput, etc. All the fun crypto terminology, but it's a faster version of ETH. They're already dominating the culture side of things. I think them like hiring Thread Guy was a no-brainer. I think that was a great move on their part because now they have the loudest champion in the room that they could probably have, which is a home run. And I've been bullish Monad for an extended period of time just because of the behind the scenes conversations, what people are talking about with it. I think that there's a lot of really interesting things here with Monad, and I think that it's going to do very well. I don't think there's a farming opportunity, however. We've also seen Phantom Wallet already intending to integrate day one. That's a big thing that I'm excited about. So they're doing a good job. Obviously, Intern is working with them as well. There's a few other quality names on social media that I think make a lot of sense here. And a $225 million raise by Paradigm is a no-brainer. Like, that's a massive, massive raise. Coinbase is invested in it. You have people from
Saquon Barkley.
LukeNet. Yeah, Saquon Barkley, man.
Huge.
Yeah. And shout out
Holy
Mert from
shit.
Helios, also invested in it as well. So that's awesome to see. That guy's a giga brain when it comes to the technical side.
I like that guy.
I think Monad. Yeah, he's awesome. So I like Monad a lot. I think this is going to be a no-brainer when it launches. I think they'll have an NFT cycle. I think they'll have meme coins. I think they're going to do it right. So when Monad launches, it's one of the same ones. Just be early, get on it, try to mess around with it, get familiar with it. And if Phantom supports it day one, your life's going to be much easier too, because you already have a familiar wallet to trade with it. So that's probably the biggest one I'm looking at. As far as farms, I'm not interested in farming shit that I'm not already using. I could not care less about spending time farming right now. It does not feel EV positive for the time spent. What I am interested in at the moment, as crazy as it sounds, is NFTs. We officially have blur bids pulled from the majority of ETH NFTs. We saw a massive rally across Solana NFTs. And what usually happens when meme coins cool off is that liquidity does in fact cycle to the JPEGs. So I think we might start to get a little bit of a run on the JPEGs here. Certain ones. New ones are more interesting to me. Gaming NFTs are interesting to me just because gaming NFT airdrops have done well so far. Like Pixelmon's airdrop to the holders was actually solid. Pirate Nation is back to all-time high after their airdrop. And Pirate Nation game is just fun. Like at the end of the day, it's fun. Made by the same. So like that's a win. I look at Soul 404s, still have this small piece of my heart that I'm hoping that they can come out on top and figure out what the hell's going on with them. We'll see. Obviously, we'll see what happens.
So,
but then
within these NFTs, basically what your thought process is is as now liquidity has dried up on the blur front or ETH NFTs, there's Ordinals, there's Solana NFTs. Like it's hard for me to try to make actually a sizable bet. I've been like off NFTs for the last 3-4 months. I think most people have, right? I think, and when you look at people maybe wanting to get back into it, how are you guys making your bets? Easy. I think the way you're looking at it is more short term, like those 404s. I think they're so interesting, but I think 95% of people in NFTs don't even know, like, aren't necessarily interested in that yet. But when I look at maybe something like Pudgy Penguins, it's interesting, maybe running back, or some of these like, or Mad Lads or whatever it is, maybe bidding on some of these majors is interesting. I agree with everything you're saying, though. Like the narrative does make sense for a potential nice NFT rally here. Kicks, do you have any NFT exposure other than your Pudgy Penguin?
Maybe some like dust here or there, but I really don't think anything significant other than some gaming NFTs. I still own some wildcard NFTs and some other gaming NFTs. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. I think personally, like NFTs are going to be a very concentrated thing, meaning that I don't think NFTs this cycle have shown that they're going to break out into, the kind of mass normie market like meme coins on Solana are doing right now. So I don't think you're going to get this situation where there's just insane volume and just like everything you buy is up only. But I do think that there's a lot of people in the space that have money and like trading NFTs. So I could definitely see some like areas where we can get some concentrated pumps. But I think you got to be in the trenches probably to find them. I'm not in the trenches, so it's me I'll probably be a top buyer more than anything on those. But I would love nothing more to see another cycle for NFTs. But like I thought the 404 meta was really interesting, right? And like even that, it's still, it's struggling to kind of take hold and get that big momentum. Someone in the comments said that last cycle early NFTs started going cheap with activity still. Oh, last cycle early NFTs. Got you. I thought this person was saying more so that NFTs maybe pop like towards the end of the cycle. That could definitely happen. I just feel like it's easier to kind of hop into it when you see it versus trying to front run the absolute bottom is a very challenging thing to pull off. Right. It's much easier to like hop in when the train's leaving the station. So I'm definitely open to it, but I don't see anything. I see a lot of people wanting it, but I don't see it happening.
Yeah,
right
and also within like you have the ETH ETF going live next week. Like there's going to be that volatility, but Signal. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I was going to say as well, like, I think the expectations, it feels a bit different. It feels like, for example, if Ordinals pumps again, I can see all the old names that we know pumping, as well as some of the new stuff, right? And, you get your classic, cartoon pictures or whatever pumping. On Solana Ethereum, I feel like some old names will pump, like the ones that, are sort of as beloved in the space. But I feel like the new stuff can't just be a picture. Like it feels like it needs a new catalyst, a new narrative, whether that's for or something completely different, for new ETH NFTs and new Solana NFTs to pump. I don't think just being a picture and vibes will happen for those two. I think it can happen for Ordinals just because the expectations on those two on those two chains are different. Ordinals is still young and fresh, and no injuries there. Everyone is still good. Everyone still made lots of money. So I think you kind of need to bear that in mind when you're thinking about what will be the propeller, the momentum that brings it back to all three sectors.
Yeah, and I feel like a lot of people that loved NFTs, really loved NFTs, they switched to Ordinals, and Ordinals had a really good run last year going into the early part of this year, and that's a small enough space with enough money that they can get interesting NFT things happening. So yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if it happened on Ordinals. I know Magic, Solana, Magic Eden had a run as well, but we'll see.
With Ordinals,
buy a node monkey, man. It's fully retraced from the pump to the all-time highs.
Bitcoin puppets, and these are Ordinals that we're talking about. Bitcoin puppets also pumped this week. They're back up to 0.15, up 50% from its lows. I think what happened with Ordinals, I'm the most interested in out of all of these actually that we're talking about, because of, I think Ordinals lost a lot of steam when liquidity all went to runes. That was, expectations just got so hot, got so high. It was this massive anticipation, and then all of a sudden runes happened and stole a lot of the liquidity, a lot of the attention away from Ordinals since the halvening, which was this was on 420. So it's been 2 months since then. And I think now this could be an interesting play. I don't know if I'm just willing to plow $8,000 into a Bitcoin puppet right now, or what that looks like. But I certainly am oh, that makes sense as on Ordinals, right? And that's not to say that we won't see a run on specific Solana NFTs or Ethereum NFTs, but like Kix is saying, I agree 100% that it could be an interesting buy because it's slower. You can just buy it and not really have to worry about it. You buy one of the big four OMBs, Quantum Cats, Bitcoin puppets, and Node Monkeys. I don't think you can go wrong with it. If you're willing to sit with it, it could go down another 50%, right? But I don't know. It feels like an interesting buy. So we're getting,
and they pumped last year Q1. I feel like Q1's always been pretty good for NFTs. Q1 2022 was insane. And
you called that last time. You called that last time was the Q1 of these new years. We saw it in 2022. We saw it in 2023. We didn't see it as much this year, I guess, although we
did see it on Ordinals, because that's when Node Monkeys caught the big pump in February going into March from 0.16 to 0.89. That also gives Bitcoin some time to run up into the rest of this year, right? If you're thinking Q3, Q4, your bullish tokens, right? Bitcoin does a big leg up. There's a lot of liquidity. People are richer there now, right? And then Q1 next year, you see another nice big Ordinals pump. Or what happens before that? Once again, it's kind of trying to read tarot cards, guessing when these things are going to happen. It's much easier, right, to just see it as it happens. But you got to be in the trenches for that, for sure.
Yeah. So we'll see how it plays out. Signal, any closing thoughts on Ordinals before we wrap?
No, I'm with Kix on this. I think Q1 historically since 2021 it's just been print money season, and it's on the dot. New Year's Eve, kiss your beloved, get to your computer, because at 12:01, literally it just runs, and it runs for about 4 to 6 weeks. And so if you're patient and you place your bets, I think, even now when, nothing really interesting is happening on things that you think can run and you're willing to take the bleeding, I do believe Q1 is a good time, but you also have to be considerate that there could be a new narrative as we go into Q4, and that could catch legs going into Q1. So you don't know what that narrative is, and you have obviously not positioned yourself for it. So, you're playing with danger money here. You can lose it all, or you could, go to Valhalla.
And also just the fact that it needs to outpace Bitcoin, right? If you're putting $8,000 into Bitcoin puppets, and Bitcoin then goes to 100K or 120K by the end of the year, whatever that looks like, you're like, okay, you have to make sure that your Bitcoin puppet or whatever you buy also outpaces that or doesn't just bleed out, which NFTs can do. So anyways, a lot of great stuff for today's show, guys. I'm going to wrap. Thank you all for tuning in. One more shout out to the partner of today's show, Shrapnel. Go play their STX 3.1 event right now. It's live until 9 p.m. tonight. There's 1 million Shrap up for grabs. All you have to do, download the game, get an extraction back for $10, and you can play, participate in these missions, and you get some Shrap tokens. So you can't lose there, and you can have some fun. They're also in Gamescom Brazil in Sao Paulo right now doing a bunch of awesome stuff. I believe they're going on the main stage playing STX 3.1 literally in an hour. So be sure to check them out on X at Play Shrapnel. We're super excited to be working with them. They're incredible partners, and we're going to be doing awesome stuff with them in the near future. Thank you guys for tuning in. If you're listening on Twitter, like, follow, comment, at Bodogos ENT and all of the panelists that we have here. If you're listening on YouTube, give us a subscribe and comment, and we'll be seeing you guys on Monday, 9 a.m. Thank you all for tuning in. Catch you all next time. Have a fantastic weekend. Thanks again.